All right, good morning, everybody. Shkech Levi for pitching in.
Wow, great, thank you.
All right. So we're going to switch seats today. Maybe I'm going to call you up. All right, so we left off the top. Nun test. I guess today is Daf Samach. So Nun test, there was a machlokas over there. Exactly what the takanas were in terms of what the husband must provide for his wife in lieu of what he gets in return. So Rav and Shmuel said on the bottom line, Nun Chesed Beis. All right, she starts there. They said top, I guess, Mazonos was in place of Ma'aseh Yadeha, so her daily support was for her wages, and Ma'al Kesef, and like the extra sort of spending money was Tachas Ma'aser, was the extra, the above and above that which she's supposed to produce in terms of the amount of, I guess, wool or minimum wages. So that was Rav and Shmuel. And then there was another one of Rav Abba who switched it up. He says, no, Mazonos were for the Ma'aser, for the extra, and the Ma'al Kesef was for the Ma'aseh Yadeha. So Meisve, 6 lines from the top, or a little more than that, from the top of Nun Testament out. Tigna Mazonos Tachas Ma'aseh Yadeha. So it says there beferish in the Brisa that Mazonos was Tachas Ma'aseh Yadeha. So it's Kash and Ravada. So Emo Tachas Ma'aser Yadeha. So now say that is just the extra amount. You forgot the word Ma'aser, right? Sort of a key word to leave out, right? Exactly. But so Toshma, come and listen. So it says if you don't give the extra the Ma'al Kesef, then she gets her Ma'aseh Yadeha. So it sounds like the Ma'al Kesef is for her Ma'aseh Yadeha, not like Rav and Shmuel. So Eva Ma'aser Ma'aseh Yadeha Shalom. No, say it's the Ma'aser Ma'aseh Yadeha. Look, Tanya says over there, Mahi Oiselo. So what does she have to do for him? So Mishkal Chamish Slide. It says over there that she has to go ahead and produce 5 slime. This is the amount of minimum wages of shesi of wool in Yehuda. So we see over there that that's referring to her Ma'aseh Yadeha, not her Ma'aser Yadeha. So Achikomer Ma'aseh Yadeha Kamehavi. So what is the Ma'aseh Yadeha? In order to calculate the Ma'aser, first we need to know what the Ma'aseh Yadeha is. Kamehavi the Liada Ma'aser. In order to know the Ma'aser Yadeha, Kama Mishkach Kama. So Mishkach Chamish Slime Shesi Yehuda. Right, in order to produce 5 slime of wool in Yehuda, Shehain Esther slime the Galil, which is 10 slime in Galil. And Omar Shmuel Halach Rabbi Yechon Hasan. Halach is like Rabbi Yechon Hasan. So that is referring back to our Mishnah, right? So what we said over there, so one is Makdish Ma'aseh Yadeha Ishto, right? So I'm just looking back at the Mishnah. So it says Havreza Oisiv Elchelas, right? So that she goes, as we disregarded Hamaiser, right? Rabbi, and when it comes to the extra, Meir Hektish, this is that which she does is nothing, right? And the Meiser, Rabbi Meir says Hektish, and Rabbi Yechon says it's still chulin, remains chulin, that his being makdish doesn't affect it. So the halacha is like Rabbi Yechon. Umi Amar Shmuel Hachi, did Shmuel say this, that you can't go ahead and be makdish, basically the Meiser? Otana? We learn in the Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, let me just see if I want to just point something out. All right. So he says over there, Umi Omar Shmuel Hachi. But now we learn in the Mishnah. Koine Shani Oisel Afifa. Answer Glafir. She says a koine, right? Or that which she goes ahead and she makes a nether or a koine, right? Basically, she become hektish. That which I do for your mouth, ain't right? It doesn't have any validity. It doesn't work. Says Rabbi Kiva. So Rabbi Kiva says no, you have to be made fair because even though that which is earned to him, right, her Ma'aseh Yadeha. No, she doesn't have rights to those. She can't be makdashit. But the Ma'aser, the extra, which would basically that she belongs to her. Therefore, you have to go ahead and he should nullify it in order to prevent that from becoming hektish. He says, Yafir Shema Yugashem. She nullify why? Perhaps he's going to go ahead and divorce her. now all her wages and all her actions are her own if she's a divorced woman, and therefore at that point those will be usher to him. And therefore she'll be usher for him to be chayzer to him, because everything that she does will be forbidden to him. So in order to prevent that which later on, which would be to be usher, so therefore go ahead and nullify it now. So you see over here that even though, according to so and Shmuel they're passing like Rabbi Yochanan Nuri. The other right, Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yochanan Nuri. I knew at some point Shmuel said, and Shmuel says, "Look, Rabbi Yochanan Nuri." Still waking up. So what do you see over there? That she can ask her something which is not, she was Bali Olam yet, right? It doesn't exist yet. She's not divorced and producing yet. Nevertheless, he should go ahead and nullify now, says Shmuel in this case. So if that's the case, why does Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Yochanan Sandler say in our case that it's chulin, right? Because she should be able to ask her something which doesn't exist yet. So Ki Amar Shmuel Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri la'adafa. In other words, that doesn't mean that necessarily that in other words he's answering something. Then that's only that something which is the extra. So if that's the case, so don't. So if you say really that Shmuel didn't really hold like a Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri there when it comes to his svara, right? That it was going to come upon that, and it was just the actions of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, in other words, nullified now, but for a different reason. And that was the access now while she's married, nothing to do when she gets divorced. So say that the halacha, your actions should be like Yochanan ben Nuri to be meifiret, but for the hadafa, for a different reason, not for when you get divorced, for hadafa, inami, or say, ain't halacha the Tanakama. Right, the Tanakama was the only one in this Mishnah over here. There was three opinions. The Tanakama was the only one who says you don't have to do anything. So say the halacha is not like him because the other two say you should nullify for different reasons. Inami, or say halacha Rabbi Akiva. The halacha is Rabbi Akiva because he said it had to do with the meiser, with the extra amount. Salam Rabbi Yosef Kanamos Kamarta. When you talk about Kanamos, Shani Kanamos, those are different. A kind of something that you make to hektish is different. Why? Those are unique. Since I have the ability to go ahead and ask her someone else's fruits, which I do not own, but I can ask them on me. Therefore, a person can be makdish. So therefore, kanos are unique, right? You can go ahead and ask her something that doesn't exist yet. So Abaye says Abaye Bishlam Adam Iser Paris Chavera Alav Shachin Adam Iser Paris of Al Chavera. Wait, I understand why a person can ask for somebody else's Paris and myself. Why? Because I can ask for my Paris and him. So yes, or Davar Shalab Elam Al Chavera Shachin Adam Iser Paris Chavera Chavera. Well, but you can't say that a person could be asked for something Shalab Elam because you can't ask for someone else's fruits and somebody else. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that in this case we're talking about davar shalai b'elam. So Elam Rav Huna b'rei Yeshua by Meres Yakdishu Yadai Lo Yiseya. She says no. We're talking about a case where she's makdish her hands. Right? It's not davar shalai b'elam future earnings. Her hands and the idea is to b'elam and her hands exist. So therefore she's only makdish her hands. So the Gemara says. Can't she be makdish it? Right? So, but he owns them, right? They belong to him. Her hands really belong to him. Yes, they're in the world, but she doesn't own them. So she says, when I go ahead and divorce him, then my hands will be mine. Then everything I do will be yasser to him. Is there something that now, if I say it's not kaddish, but since in the future it would be hektish. Some Rabbi Eloi, alam alo, why not? Someone says to his friend, so I say to Eddie, I'm about to sell him a field. This field that I'm selling to you, when I buy it back from you, it should be hektish. So will that not work? Of course it works, right? So we see that even though something that I'm doing for the future, when I buy back from you, then the hektish works. So too, the woman in this case can say, when I get divorced.
Is this a field that comes back a shmita?
No, a regular. I'm going to buy it back. No, buy a regular field. I'm going to buy it back. So the Gemara is going to ask the question. Master Rabbi Yirmiyah.
If she has said that Masay Adai are going to be mine, and you don't have to provide for me.
That's not what she's saying here. She's saying
What? Yeah.
She's saying in this case, she's saying that when I divorce you, my production, my ma'aseh will be forbidden to you. But she's still married right now.
When you divorce me.
Right, when you divorce me. What did I say?
You see, when I divorce you, she can't divorce me.
So we'll see that. That was a Freudian slip, as was said.
You jumping the gun.
Yeah, that's Freudian slip. Yeah. So the Gemara says, first of all, Maskiv la Rabbi Yirmiyah midami. Who said that case? Hasam biyado lakdisha. Over there, since I'm selling you a field, and I'm telling you when I buy it back, I can makdish it. If I wanted to, I don't have to sell you the field right now. I can makdish it right now. Hacha in biyado lagarshis asmo. But over here, she can't go ahead and divorce herself. It's not up to her. She can't be she can't be megarish herself, right? And then make her hands free. She has to wait to be megarish.
Right.
Hello, Dami. Maybe this should be a different case. A person says to his friend, so maybe if it's more similar to a case, I go to Eddie, that field which I sold to you last week, right? If I say to you, the field I sold to you last week, when I buy it back will be hektish, that actually doesn't work. And that would be the same as the case as the woman. So I'm asking Rav Papa, midami, hasam gufa uperos biyada, the lakeach. Hacha gufa biyada, biyada. Who? Over there, the reason why it doesn't work is because you own the land and you own the fruits. So I have no shaykhs to it. But over here, Lamaisa, she owns her hands. Her hands are part of her body, right? So even though he has rights to it, right? The other who person says to his friend, this field, right? That I use as a collateral for you. I borrowed money from Eddie, and I use the field as a collateral. So in other words, even though he's on the field, Lamaisa, I still own it. It just uses as a collateral right now, right? So he said, when I go ahead and redeem him, the culture, I'll go ahead and when I redeem it, it will be sanctified. So therefore, that case will work. So how can you compare that case to the woman? Over there, I can go ahead and redeem it anytime I want. I can redeem it today and then makdish it today. She can't divorce herself. She wants to go ahead and divorce herself today and then be mekadesh her hands. She wouldn't be able to do that. So Allah damya I tell Eddie has a 10-year loan, right? Can't go ahead and take it earlier. So he says a 10-year loan. When I go ahead and pay you back and get back this collateral, it will be hektish. Except that the culture that over there works. So Maskav Rav Ashi Bidami, who says that's the case, over there, in the case of my set, 10 years, it's going to be mine to go ahead and redeem. She never has the power to divorce herself. It's not automatic that she's going to get it back. Rav Ashi rather go like we said earlier, konomos, kamarti, you talk about konomos, shani konomos, the kedushas haguf ninu, that there's kedushas haguf there, ukudarava, damarava, hekdesh, chametz, v'shikra, mafkim, v'dei shibu. So they hold that, so says Rava, right, these three different items have the power that the kedusha that can uproot an existing lien, right? You think you got title insurance, it doesn't work. Title insurance does not come in the way of kanamos, right? Chametz, and it was something as chametz become valueless, and also shikra and freeing a slave, even if someone else is in someone else's possession, and I go ahead and free the slave, that overrides an existing lien. So too in this case, the kanamos, right? The koinem, right, overrides, right, an existing right. So in this case of the husband, even though he has the right, if she does kanamos, that could override his power over it. So the Gemara says that so why does it have to be when she's divorced? If she has the kayak to be kaidem something or to come in her work and it overrides any shibud, any rights that the Rabbanan give him over her work, so let her do it now. Why is it Gershena, right? When you divorce me, right, then everything will be us, right? Najmi Hasha. So Alu Rabbanan Shibud Dabal Kihech Kadesh Mihasha. So the Rabbanan knew very well about this trick that a woman could do, and therefore they made it this shibud that the husband has over her Ma'aseh strong enough that even if she does a kainem, right, a kainem vow upon her work, that will not override the marriage. But what she does have the power is to do a kainem vow now for when she does become a single woman and get divorced, even though she doesn't have the ability to divorce herself.
Let's go back. Give me some Skana here on this tomorrow. I've gotten lost a little bit of those chapters.
All right, so right. So Vaskana, so we said that which the woman wants to be makdish, the Mishnah, that which she wants to be makdish, right? Her work does not work, and even the extra, even the moisa. But what she can aser upon him is work that she'll do when she's divorced. So that. Because that's not now. The Rabbanan made it now that she can't affect anything now, but she has a strong enough ownership over her hands right now that she can ask her something in the future when she gets divorced. But she can't ask her any of the extra or makdish, any of the extra or any of the ma'aseh at this point in time. And therefore, it's not it doesn't conflict that psak of Shmuel, like Rabbi Yochanan Sandler with Rabbi Yochanan Ben Nuri. Because it's two different points. One is a point while she's married to Moser, that she can't affect or touch.
That's the husband. Right? The husband's trying to be makish the Moser.
Right.
He's saying he's not going to even get the Moser until after Misa. And the point is that already he has no violence in. Right. So then he can't be makish. But you're saying that in the case of the woman, she can make a konim on her Yadayim. She owns the Yadayim. They're just going to shove it to the husband.
Right. And that can override.
So the konim overrides the shibud. But
right. When it comes to the husband and when he wants to ask her the Moser, right? That we say, so he says, right? That would not take effect. Fine. Mishnah. These are the 7 malachas, right? That a woman does. Yeah. So these are the 7 malachas that a woman does for her husband. There's going to be 7. And there's the reason I pointed out. Techenes, grinding, right, the flour, and baking, laundry, cooking, manikas bana, right, nursing the child, right, preparing the bed for him, and then doing her wool work, right, getting a job. Those are the 7 things. Now, if she brought in 1 shivcha, so then take off 3 of these things, like techenes, then these is sort of like need to work. So she says, okay, that I don't have to grind the flour because I'm bringing someone else to do it. Grinding the flour, baking, laundry. Right, so those are off the board. Stein, she brings in 2, right? Bringing a staff. Aim Lashal, she's got to cook. Manikas bana, she doesn't have to go ahead and nurse the child. That's this is what nurse can do, right? Shalosh, she brings in 3. Aim matzaz la'amita. She doesn't have to do the last 2. Doesn't have to go ahead and prepare the bed. Doesn't have to go ahead and work with wool. But the she does have to go ahead and do some of the small things, other items that I mentioned. Arba, she brings in 4. Yesheves bekasdara. She can go ahead and sit in the lazy boy and do nothing. However, even she brings in 100 shivchas, kaifa lasas b'tzemer. She still has to go out and get a job. Doesn't get her out of it. Why? Right? Because batala doing nothing brings about zima. Unruly behavior. Even one who makes the nether, right, says, right, they should not be able to do any malacha. Doesn't want to get a job. Right, he has to go ahead. It's a very bad vow for a marriage, and therefore he has to go ahead and divorce her and give her a ksuba. Right, because batal doing nothing doesn't say that the zimum, rather brings apart shimum. when she becomes a Meshuggah, right? She'll go crazy from doing nothing. Fine. That was the mission.
It sounds like he's the one who's making the netter.
In the case where he makes a nether like that, you can't work. Then the Chachamim say, since you didn't nullify the vow, there's no room to nullify the vow. Then you got to divorce her because she can't sit home and do nothing. We don't want a wife to home do nothing. So the first thing I says, the mill, that's a heavy work. Ella ema mitachenes. Maybe she brings the flour over there to the mill, and then they do it at the mill. Berecha diada. She uses a little hand mill, right? One, not the large one that with the water mills. Yes, not the industrial side. Now, masnis and like Reb Chia.
Use donkeys.
Right, the donkey or something with water or whatever the flow, right? So they with more power. So masnis and like Reb Chia, our Mishnah does not appear to go like Reb Chia. The time Reb Chia, ein isha ella liyafi. A woman, right, is only for her beauty, right? She's you don't marry a woman for her no, you don't marry for her work, for her duties, right? They can go ahead and hire somebody, 1-800, whatever, maid, whatever that is, right? Rather, she's, what do they say, a trophy wife, right? And she's only a woman, is only for children, for her household. Right? You acquire a woman for, to buy her jewelry, to beautify her. Right? So she had an asishta. If he wants to go ahead and beautify his wife, Yalvishena, Kli Pishtin, go ahead and buy her linen clothing. And he wants to make his daughter beautiful. Yachena, Efreichim, I guess, give her young chicks to go ahead and eat Vishkena, Chalav, Samach, Lepirka, right? And give her also, dairy close to her time where she matures. So basically, he says, Reb Chia, that a wife is good enough for a wife to go ahead and raise your family, have children with you, and look beautiful and save you from Avera, than having her, wash your dishes and cook and bake for you. Fine. Umenika is bena. Also, one of the jobs is to go ahead and nurse the child. So like Rebbe Shammai, let's say that Rebbe Shammai at the time of the Raisa, not just Shalolani, gets bena. A woman makes it now. She's not going to go ahead to nurse the kids. Right? Then Beishamai says, okay, then we remove her from nursing the child, and it's effective. We can force her. That doesn't. She's not allowed to do that. He's garsha. But however, if he divorced her, right, then she still has. Right. It doesn't say Mayfair. It says no. Force her to do it. Right. Kaifa. I don't think this means.
Right. It's interesting.
Yeah. Kaifa. Right. Since it's meshubah to him, as Rashi says, since he owns the rights of nursing, right? That's due to him. She doesn't have the power to nullify it.
That is not valid.
That is not valid, right? Now, Nizgarsha, however, he does go ahead and divorce her. Ain't a kaifa, he can't force her anymore because the netter could be chal. Makira. However, the child already noticed, or recognized the mother and would not nurse from anybody else. Then we can force her to go ahead and nurse the child, but he has to pay her, nursing fees or whatever those cost. So you see, it's not like Beis Shammai, because Beis Shammai seem to say that she can answer it because she owns the rights of nursing. So the rest says, no, if you tell me Beis Shammai, lahu. She made the nether, he was standing there, he was Mekayim. Right? When she makes a nether and he hears it and he does not nullify it, it's basically like he made the nether. So if she says, I'm not going to nurse, he says, okay, right? So then it's like he was the one who made the nether, and therefore he brought it upon himself, and therefore it's a valid vow. Sorry, she's the one, since she made the vow, she's the one who did it, and therefore she can't cause it, therefore it's not vow. Why'd you argue the ksuba? Why'd you just argue in this case of of nursing? Then furthermore, Tana Beis Shammai says, right? She is not responsible in general for nursing. Rather, okay, you're right. We must say that our mission is like Beis Shammai, who holds that there is no. The Beis Shammai holds that there is no. She doesn't have no obligation to go ahead and nurse, and our mission is going like Beis Hillel, who holds there is an obligation for a woman to nurse, and therefore it's not like Beis Shammai. Fine. And we said that the child, im hayam akira, of the child after the divorce, recognized the mother would only nurse from the mother, then we can sort of force the mother to go ahead and nurse. So top of the page is Samach Hamad Aleph, which is today's daf. Ad Kama. Until what age? Samarav Amar Yirmiyah Barav Amarav Shleisha Chadash. Up to 3 months, right? At 3 months, up to 3 months is when a child will begin to recognize his mother. Okay, you guys on. Good. I want to make sure you guys on here. Right, I'll soon see why. Shmuel Amar, Shleishim Yom, 30 days. 30 days in a baby will recognize his mother. Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yechon, Chamishim says 50 days. Some Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Halach, Rabbi Yitzchak, Sham Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yechon, Halach is like Rabbi Yitzchak, who says the Rabbi Yechon, which is 50 days. So Bishlam, Rabbi Yechonan. So it makes sense. Okay, Rabbi Yechonan, perhaps one says 3 months. Yeah, one says 50 days. Right? It depends on each child. El Shmuel, Shmuel, can you find a baby, right? 30 days old that would only nurse from, but recognize its mother and only nurse from its mother. So Kiyasa, Rabbi Recheskel, Amar, Loi Tatsino Lahani Kali. The Kyle says, no, ignore this, right? Don't listen to this. Why? Because what happened? Lahani Kali. The Kyle Yehuda Achim Mishmei the Shmuel. How can I Shmuel? Because my brother, right? Yehuda Achi said the name of Shmuel. This is what Shmuel said. Kolzman Shimakira, right? So anytime, right? Whenever the child recognizes, since the child, right?
There's no end date.
Right. So in other words, so we see that as long as the child, right, there's no shila davar, right? In other words, some can recognize it, and once they recognize, then you can force the mother to go ahead and do it. And
What are we saying here? Are we saying that after a certain point of time, the child will recognize only
recognize the mother and
mother.
only nurse from the mother,
only
and therefore, in that case, if she's divorced, she divorced the husband at that point in time. The husband divorced her, right? Thank you. Then you could force her to nurse
the child.
because the child will only nurse from her. But as before the recognizable time, the baby will nurse from anybody. Then he can't force her to nurse. He'll just pay for the wet nurse. But if the baby would only recognize from the mother, then he's the husband will be forced to pay her.
So we're saying that when the baby is very young, it will nurse from
Anybody. Right. At some point, Machloki said when that point is, the baby will recognize its mother, and to recognize its mother, it will only nurse from its mother.
Okay.
So you also the coming to Shmuel. So there was somebody who came before Shmuel. So we say over there, Amar le Rav Divi Bar Yosef Zil Bodka. Right. So as the mice came before, go see if the baby recognizes the mother. They just got divorced, and she doesn't want to nurse. The see so also I say B'dari Nashi. Right, so he took like a row of women, right, a lineup. So basically, they took like a police lineup. They stood up a bunch of women. Here, baby, let's pass them around. Let's see if this baby, reacts to any of the mothers. Right. So when nevertheless, when the baby who came to was looked at her, and then so the baby sort of looked at her a little differently. So what did she do? So Kivashtani Lena Mine, so she sort of lifted her eyes away, not to make eye contact. Samalei, Nata Feinacha Kumdare Berech. I said, okay, you know what, you're trying to recognize, you look down and basically go ahead and feed your son. So we see that this baby, even though it was a very young age, perhaps under the age of 50 days, right, was able to recognize the mother, and therefore she was required to nurse her.
These 7 things the Mishnah says that the White House.
Yeah.
That's 9 exuba. I mean, that's not really exuba. So is that an automatic?
Right.
In other words, according to this, it's something, even though it's not written in there.
That she has those responsibilities, right? And they go to divorce court, and he says she doesn't want to cook for me. She's like, yeah, I'm not cooking for him. Says, well, it's not ksuba. He promises certain things, and you promise certain things back. Yeah.
My wife is behind him at summer.
Yeah. So suma minaya. How does the suma has a blind baby? No, some Ravashi, berecha v'tama, right? The taste and smell, you can sense the mother, even though the child can't look and recognize the mother. Tana Rabbanan. So Yunak Tinok v'holech ad esim v'arba chodesh. A child can go and nurse up to 24 months. Bikan v'elech, more than that. Kiyonek sheketz. Right, then it's something which is which is something which is a bit disgusting. A child's a bit too old, once over the age of 2 years old, to be nursing from his or her mother. Shuaymer afilu arba v'chamesh shana. Even 4 or 5 years, a child can go ahead and nurse from his mother. I asked about Yigal before because I remember that I think it was his cousin, right? Shoshana Senlin. I told me that, and they used to. Right, where she was from, yeah, they used to go ahead and nurse, much later. I mean, a lot of it was due to poverty, but they would, even nurse, much later years. So over here, it says even 4 or 5 years. However, once that child, if they're the case where people do 4 or 5 years, once the child stops and is after 24 months, the chazar, and then goes back to nursing, then it's a viral action, right? In other words, that before the age of 2, and the baby stops for a period of time which was soon defined, then that's okay to restart before 2. But after 2, even though normally the other children in the family went to 4 or 5 years, after 2, once you have a period of stoppage, then you can't restart. And I remember, so we have a brayz that says you might think milk from a halche shtayim, from a human, right? It's a fancy way of saying it. From an adam, from a person, halche shtayim, right? Walks on 2, is tamei. Is tamei, right? It's not kosher. Uma behema, right? Shekalta b'maga hikmarta b'chalva, by an animal that you're makel, right? With touching its blood, but you're machmer with the chalva, right? But nevertheless, you're machmer with its milk, right? So adam shechmarta b'mago, by a person, right? Who we're more machmer by touching becomes tamei enu dish tachma b'chalva. Certainly, we should be machmer when it comes to a human milk. Tamalayimar, therefore, it says esakamal ki mala gera hu tamei bein chalav mahalche shtayim tamei. Only the milk is tamei from this animal, right? But not the milk of one who goes ahead and walks on 2, right? Obviously, a human is not a kosher animal or kosher being, right? Nevertheless, the milk is okay. But a Torah yachol aitzis a chalav shein shav b'kol. But maybe that by milk, right? We would say that it's different than blood, right? Tamalaymar hu tamei vein dam alchish shtayim. Right, that's tamei that only by the animals, but not the blood of a human. Blood of a human is not tamei. Elo tor. The ever of sheishes. Nafilu mitzvah pre-sheba, right? And there is not even there's no mitzvah of pre-sha to stay away from the milk, right? So why'd you say over here, right? That after 24 months is an issue. So like kasha, had the parish, had the parish, right? When the child already basically stopped nursing, so then to go back, then it's considered to be bad. But if it does not parish, then it can continue from chalavima, right? So we say, however, it's opposite of blood. In other words, right, when you're going ahead, the parish doesn't mean when the child stopped. It means when it's actually nursing, right? If the child is nursing directly from the mother, right, then that's a bad thing. In other words, if it's over the age of 24 months, right, and then we say that's a person should be punished, right? But if the child is continuing to go, the child goes and nurses directly from the mother, then that is not an issue. So in other words, to go ahead and nurse directly from the source is so that is the issue we're talking about. But if it's just if the milk, let's say, was pumped, right? They pump a lot, then to drink that will not be an issue at all, even if the child is 7 years old, right? If it's pumped. And the chaluf b'dam is opposite by blood. In other words, blood directly from the source, right, is not an issue, right? But separated is more of an issue, as opposed to nursing, right? Milk directly from the source. If the child is already too old, then it's not that's frowned upon. But if it's not directly to the source, if it's not direct nursing, right, from the mother, then it'll be okay. So sometimes we learn price of blood. Dom shal gabe kikar, right? There's blood. Let's say if a person's mouth, his gums are bleeding, whatever it was. I got a kikar. If there's blood, let's say on the loaf, right? You go ahead and just tear that piece off. Then you go ahead and eat the rest of the blood. Notice you shouldn't eat because it already came separated from the body. It's now on the loaf of bread, right? So go ahead and remove that because it's already extracted from the body. However, Shabbat Nashinayim, but let's say there's blood right in his mouth, right? His gums are bleeding. Then you go ahead and suck it or whatever it is, swallow it. It's no big deal. So you see, what blood and milk are opposite. Milk, when it's extracted from the body, is okay, but blood, when it's extracted from the body, is not. And Amar Rabbi Shua Omer, afilu arba b'chamesh shanim, even 4 or 5 years. I v'atani Rabbi Shua Omer, afilu chavisa ha'kseifav. So he says, what do you mean? When he comes to the age of carrying a bundle, so the Gemara answers, right? That is 1 shear. And in Rabbi Yosef, halacha ki Rabbi Yoshua. The halacha is like Rabbi Yoshua. So Tanya. So we learn in Brisa, Rabbi Marinus Aimer, Goineach Yainek Chalav B'Shabbos. A person who's in pain, right? He's Makev Libo, as Rashi points out. He's allowed to go ahead and, drink milk from an animal, right? For refuah, let's say from a goat. My timer. What's the reason? Yainek Mefarek Yad. Right, to go ahead and nurse from an animal is considered to be a shinui. Is not the regular. It's not deraisa. It's not action. And makom tsar in a place of pain, like as the rabbanon were not geyser. And I'm Rabbi Yosef halacha Rabbi Marinus. The halacha is like Rabbi Marinus. Tanya, we learn in a brayso. Nachum ish galia aimer tzinor shalo ba kashi. Mechina baraglay. The tzina of Shabbos. Let's say his gutter on his roof is clogged. He's allowed to go ahead and go down there and sort of push it down with his foot. So, people don't see him do it. He's allowed to go ahead and do that to prevent further leaking on his, in his ceiling. We're not concerned. My time, what's the reason? So, right? This is he's fixing with his foot, therefore it's not the normal way. Say in a place of a large loss, right? His roof is leaking because the water is not going down the gutter like Gezer, but we're not guys.
What's the malacha?
So the malacha over there. I just want to make sure. Yeah, the misake. I want to see if it's going now. It's a hell of a balloon. 1 second. Shouldn't be like fine. 1 second.
That is Tikkun Kli one of the 39.
It's the last one, I think.
Or is
Yeah.
hold up?
All right. So in other words, over here, so this is, I guess, the Misaki over there, you'd be fixing it, fixing the gutter system, by having it flow freely, and therefore that would compromise. That would be a malacha.
Yeah, but Stein just said that's not
Misaki clear. Okay, very good. Yeah,
What?
Misaki clear. So yeah. So Amar Rabbi Yosef halach kenacham ish galia. The halach is like so piresh liachar esrim v'arba chodesh v'chazer kiyenek shemes. However, if after 24 months of nursing, the child goes back, right? There's a stoppage, and then it goes back. Then that's considered to be something which is yenek shekets. That's more of a disgusting act. And how much is that? So Amar Rabbi Yehuda bar Chaviva Amar Shmuel shloisha yamim. The child goes 3 days without nursing, then goes back to nursing. That's a big no-no.
For how old?
After 2 years, right? After 21 months. And Ikadamis have a different version. Tani Rav Yehuda bar Chaviva come in the Shmuel shloisha yamim. It's 3 days. So Tani Rabbanan meinekes shemes ba'ala b'seich esrim v'arba chodesh. A woman who's nursing and her husband dies within the first 2 years of the child's life. So she's a nursing mother and her husband dies. Now, she should not get engaged, Erison, or betrothed, or full marriage, ad esrim v'arba chodesh, until 24 months. Divrei Meir. Why is that? Because perhaps she'll get pregnant while nursing, right? And then the milk will not produce properly. and they'll have to go ahead and provide for the baby. And her new husband will say, I'm not paying for your ex-husband's child, and this baby will be in sakana. So in order to make sure that she continues to nurse the child, we say you can't get engaged or heirs and suing until the baby is 24 months.
The current husband, you can't.
I'm sorry?
The current husband, even though they're get pregnant.
Right, because that's his child and he's willing to pay for whatever food the child needs. But somebody else, right, the stepfather, they'll say, well, what do I care about this child, right? He's just getting in the way. Rabbi Yehuda matter. However, Rabbi Yehuda says mutter. So he says he's mutter b'shmos chodesh 18 months. And Amar of Nasan bar Yosef hein divrei Beis Shammai hein divrei Beis Hillel. You know what this is? It's machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai Yomrim es 24 chodesh. So Beis Shammai says it's 24 months. Beis Hillel Yomrim shortav aser chodesh. It's 18 months, a year and a half. And the baby's a year and a half. And even according to that who says 24 months, it's actually muteres linaseh be'estiv echad chodesh. Right? You can actually go ahead and get married at 20 when the baby is 21 months. According to the opinion says it's 18 months. The mother can really get married when the baby is 15 months. Why? Because the milk only begins to go bad once the woman is pregnant for 3 months. So even though she gets married, let's say when the baby is 15 months, right? The milk only begins to go bad when she's at 18 months, which is basically the age where a child doesn't necessarily, need to nurse. Perhaps there's other foods and stuff that can be supported.
How could we say that Rabbi Meir holds like Beis Shammai?
How can we say that Rabbi Meir, that his opinion is a loop?
His opinion is 24 months.
Right. So he didn't say Aloch Beis Shammai, but he says this is machlokes. It's not. There are times where he doesn't say Aloch Beis Shammai.
No.
His independent, right? But his independent opinion was a loop. Yeah.
Beis Shammai says.
There's many cases where Beis Shammai and other cases and other Tanaim all say there's times where there's 5 or 6 Tanaim, right? They all have the same shita, and then we line them up. So it's not it's not so short. It's not like he says Aloch Beis Shammai, right? So Amar Ula Halach Rabbi Yehuda. The halach is like Rabbi Yehuda that says 18 months. It happened to me that Rabbi Chanina permitted to go ahead and marry after 15 months. Now, however, Arise the Baye, the Shekar Abaye, also the Kame, the Baye came for Abaye. He had this exact case. Samalu Mauli Ores Bachamisha Asar Chodesh. Now, just to point out, Rabbi Chanina was permitted to linase, to marry. All right. Now, this sharecropper of Abaye wanted to know if he was even allowed to engage, right, to be eirsin or betrothed, right, and that doesn't involve, shouldn't involve, right, any sort of relations. Right. Now, so he wanted to know what is the First of all, we said that this Bach was Rabbi Yehuda. Allah is Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore there's reason to be replied that. Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, halach Beis Hillel, you should like Beis Hillel. V'yamar Ula, halach Rabbi Yehuda, v'yamar Mar Ukva. And furthermore, Mar Ukva told me, Lihitir Rabbi Chanina, L'lasei Slacha Chamish Asar Chodesh, right? That he was permitted after 50 months to get married. So Kol Sheken Das Liyares. Certainly, you should be able to go ahead and get engaged at 50 months. So, yeah, we got enough behind us. However, Kiyos l'kamed Rav Yiskim bar Rav Yosef Amar lei Rav Ushmod Amar Tavayu Tzricha lahamtin 24 chodesh chutz b'yom shenolad bo v'chutz b'yom shedarsa bo. You need 24 months. Not only that, we're not even including the day of the birth or the day of the marriage. It has to be a full 24 months after the baby was born and before the marriage for the erusin. So basically, you're wrong, even though you have those reasons. Rabbi Yehuda, and Beis Hillel, and Rabbi Chanina was permitted to do it. Nevertheless, you got to wait 24 months because that was what Rabbi Shmuel said. So Rod Basra to lost the Parsi. So Abaye, after hearing this, realized he gave the wrong sock to his sharecropper. He says, "Whoops!" Right? So he ran after him for 3 Parsi. But some say he's Parsi, but some say he was in the sand. A Parsi in the sand, I guess, which is feels much longer than just 3 Parsa. and he wasn't able to go ahead and get him. Some Rabbaye, high knows the Rabbanan, afilu. So even something which the Rabban say, the afilu biyasa bekuscha balisha inchi b'makam rabbe.
You
A person-
get engaged.
Right, that was engaged, right? So he says a person should not go ahead and paskin even a simple case like having egg with kutach, right? Kutach is a milk dish. You can have egg with it. So if someone says, "Can I have egg with it?" Is the egg considered fleishik? It comes from an animal, right? Is it not? Even an egg with kutach, a person should not go ahead and permit b'makam rabbi, place of his rabbis around. Should the mixtake kirusa, not because of that it looks like he's not being appropriate from his Rebbe, right? Because a person, he was not zeicha to say the right psak. Right? Even though I learned this halacha before from Rabbi Shmuel, I was not zeicha to go ahead and say it. So if there's the shaila comes around, don't try and be the superhero and answers. Say, go ask the Rebbe, even though you know it, because you might not have the zchus of giving the proper answer. Tanu Rabbanan, Nasna ben Alaminakas, Gamlaso, Imes, Moteris Linasimia. If in this scenario, the child was already weaned, the baby under the age of 24 months, or was using a wet nurse, or was weaned, a mace, or there was no more, the baby died, there's no more baby, and then the husband dies. But Teres Linasimia should go ahead and marry immediately. In other words, since she's not nursing, there is no issue of getting remarried miyad. So they want to rule a case like this. Certain elderly lady said to them, I happened to me, right? This Maisa husband died, and my baby was not nursing. The Austerly Rav Nachman, and Rav Nachman prohibited me from going ahead and remarrying. So Rav Nachman Sharlahu baby Ishkutza. So Rav Nachman permitted, right? This happened in the house of the Reish Galusa. There was somebody who was nursing, right, one of the babies of the Reish Galusa. There was a divorce in the family, and nevertheless, they permitted the woman to remarry immediately. So our answer is Shani baby Reish Galusa delay Hagar. Now it's different. So we'll get to that, right? We'll get to that in a minute. But over here, right? So the issue was like this. In the case of a wet nurse, a woman will say, "Oh, I have a wet nurse, and therefore I can go ahead and get remarried." All of a sudden, the wet nurse quits, right? She's back trying to nurse the child, and then if she's already remarried, then she has a child. She can't, then she won't provide sustenance. But if the case, the reason why the Reish Galusa is mutter, because nobody goes back on a contract with the Reish Galusa. If they say, "I'm going to nurse your child for 24 months," you're going to get 24 months. We're not worried about them, not providing their service, the nursing, and therefore that's why she was able, because we knew the baby was covered for 24 months. But in a regular case, in the case of Hayisafta, that the lady who came, that's she wasn't from the house of Reish Galusa, and therefore they were not permitted. Amar Lu Rav Papi says Rav Papa said to him, Rav Papi, I've also like Tizra Baha. You don't know this. The Tyler advice Hare Shaisa Redufa Lalech Lebe Sevilla. If she used to go ahead and run to her father's house, no, she runs to her father's house, she wasn't around her husband, or there was a lot of anger, right, between her and a master between her and her husband. Her husband was locked up in jail, wasn't around her, or he went to Medina Siyam, or he was old or sick, not unable to have relations, or she wasn't ready in a kara, she was barren, the zakena, or she's too old to have children, or islandess, the katana, or too young, related, or right, a case of where she she had a miscarriage after he died. So in other words, obviously this is the last, potential child from this husband, right? Or she's not fit to go ahead and have kids. All of them have to wait 3 months to get remarried. You can't do it immediately. They wait 3 months. Rabbi Yossi in this case, since it's impossible, there's no confusion as to who would be the father. Therefore, you can go ahead and get married immediately.
It's engaged.
Right, so but a lot of this is different, those cases. So they also have DNA testing. So, yeah.
It says engaged.
Right.
Not necessarily.
No, it's matuli already be nothing. Yeah, both. Next word.
Yaris Vinyanase, okay.
Yeah, there's me asked. The V'amar of Nachman or Shmuel, halacha Ramei b'Gzeirosav. Nevertheless, halacha is like Ramei or b'Gzeirosav that and they get to wait 3 months. Stamirlei Lavadaitin says, I didn't think of it. Hilchasa, that really didn't cross my mind. Nevertheless, Hilchasa base, right? So in a case where a person dies, right? So in case of where he died, right? Therefore, in that case, mutter, then would be mutter for her to go ahead and remarry because there is no child. That's fine. Gamazo. But if the baby was weaned, then usher, then that would be usher because there's a chance the person would go back on the obligation. And Mabravashi Amar, Afilu Meis Nami usher. Right, even if the baby dies, also has to get remarried. Right, also means right, because perhaps a woman will say, "Oh, I can't get married for 3 months, so she's so crazy, she's going to kill her baby in order. Oh, I got no baby, I can go ahead and remarry." Right, something you'd see probably on the 1 o'clock in the morning, what's on TV when they have like those murder mysteries, right? So right, there was a Maisa with the woman. Mamish did this. She went ahead and she suffocated her child. Or no baby, I can go ahead and marry it. However, we don't learn from that case. No, that lady was deranged, and therefore that was not normal behavior for a woman to go ahead and murder her child in order for her to be able to go ahead and get married.
Thank you.
So if we have a case, a person gave the nurse to go ahead and nurse the child. She should not go ahead and nurse another child with this baby that she was, paid to nurse. Not her own son and not the ben chaverta. And paska kima, if the food that was provided for her says, "Oh, look, I'm going to go ahead and nurse her. Right? I give her extra food, but she doesn't have extra food to go ahead and nurse." Then then she should go ahead and basically get more food. Right? If she stops it, she should go get more. Also, she should not go ahead and eat things that are not basically good for the child. I understand he said for her own child. Right, she can't nurse her own child along with this one. So you got to tell me the other, somebody else, another child. Right. So he said no. Right. So therefore, maybe in the case of her son, right, she has, she cares about it. This wet nurse cares about her own son. So therefore, she might go ahead and take away from the one that she was hired to. About ben chaverta. Right, but if it was just it was a second job, right? Right, she maybe would not have taken upon the job if she wasn't able to go ahead and nurse two of them. Kamash blood that we don't allow her even to take 2 jobs at one time. So Pascha Kima Echaz Harbe says that she wasn't enough food, she has to go ahead and get more food. Samehechas from who? Some Rav Sheshes Mishalah from her own, right? And Loita Chalimo Dvarim Arayim shouldn't eat bad things. So what is that? So Amar Rav Kahana Kigain. Right, so now we're going to go through a bunch of things which I did not, medically research, but we'll just go through a quick bunch of things to the top of Amud Aleph. So Rav Kahana, Kigayin, Keshus, the Chazis, V'dogin, Kedani, V'adam. Right, things as hops or chazis, right, pieces of grain, small fish, and I guess some sort of dirt. And Abaye Omar, Afilu, Kara, V'chabusha, squash, or chabusha. Right, is chabusha is what? Quince, yeah, quince. Okay. Rabba Amar, afilu kura v'kuvra, even pounds or dates that were not ripened. Rabbi Ashi Amar, afilu kamak v'harsin. Right, even harsin is like a fish dish, and kutach. Also, all these things are bad. I guess would upset the baby's stomach. And minayu paski chalva. And minayu achrichal. Some of them they stop the milk from coming, other ones from producing, and other ones make them the milk go bad. A woman who goes ahead and is mashamish, has relations by the mill, will have children who are nichbi, who have epilepsy. She's mashamish. They have relations on the ground. Havilu b'nei shmuti will have kids with long necks. The darchal rama dechamra. Woman goes ahead and walks upon the manure of donkeys. Havilu b'nei gardani. Right, we'll have kids that lose their hair falls out. Delcha chardolov. She eats mustards. Havilu b'nei zalzule. Right, her children will be gluttons. Delcha tachli. She eats cress. Havilu b'nei dulfi. Her children will have their eyes that are watery. Diachla moninai. She eats small fish. Havilu b'nei metzia einai. They'll have their eyes will smaller eyes. And the achle gargushta, she eats some sort of clay. Then havilu b'nei b'forai will have ugly kids. Gargushta is like clay. It's like yeah. Like we got other cases like in sukkah, they put gargushta on the floor, right?
Oh.
So yeah. So havilu b'nei.
Eating clay?
Yeah, I guess it's some edible. Yeah. Havilu. Then yes, the shasya shicha, she drinks beer. Havilu b'nei uchme. Then the children will be dark. Right, dark complexion. Achli bisra v'shasya chamra. Right, this now sounds more normal. Right, she eats meat. She drinks wine. Havilu b'nei shav children. Bari who are healthy. The achli bia, she eats eggs. Havilu b'nei anani will have children with large eyes. Right, a name gedolos. Right, large eyes. And she goes ahead. Havilu b'nei da'achli karpasa. She eats karpas. Right, havilu b'nei zivsani. Right, they'll be bali. So those children will be bali chen. Right, right, they'll have right good looking. Right, the chen. So the achla kusbarta. She eats kusbarta coriander. Have a little b'nei bishna. The fat kids. The achla esroiga. She eats an esrog. Havilu b'nei rechana. She have children that smell good. And barti the shomalga the daughter Shormalka so Achla ba ima esrog. Her mother ate esrog. They used to go ahead and pass it to her father because she smelled good because her mother went ahead and was very fond of eating esrog. All right, we'll stop here. Tomorrow with the Shem, we will continue from here. Oh, tomorrow's Labor Day. Oh, so tomorrow looks like yeah, 7:05.
Yes, Joel, yes,
So yeah, a little longer. 7:05.
Joel, yes, from Portugal.
Ah,
Yes, yes, from Portugal. Yes,
enjoy. Enjoy your trip. I'll see you. Very good.
All right.
Great for coming on.
Coming 7 o'clock then?